Hi, I'm Meredith Rose, and I'm talking with Willow Rockwell to shed a different kind of light on Vladimir Putin. Willow, thank you so much for joining me.
You're welcome. Good to see you. You look beautiful as always.
Oh, thank you. So do you. I don't even know how to talk about what you do. You were once ranked second in the world as a cross country bike racer. Can you expand more on what you're doing now?
Yes. Well, first and foremost, I'm a mama to Raven, who's 12, and Freya's 9. So there's a lot going on there.
Yeah.
Little powerhouses.
Yeah.
So that's my number one. But then I'd say my life passion beyond that is just the evolution of consciousness and the mysteries of the universe. So in every and all ways, I tap into that. Astrology is one way, but then also just like really coming into like we are the universe. It sounds cliche sometimes because we know that, but like to really know that, I think it's coming online more and people are getting that.
Right. So there's obviously a transformation going on,
Oh yes.
but to kind of pull in Putin here, and not to look for any kind of a direct meaning, but maybe thinking about the position of his sun, his moon, his rising, his north and south nodes, just kind of explore what's going on there.
Yes, for sure. I'm going to tell you what's popped out for me because
Excellent.
that's the way I read charts, because you can read a chart a million different ways, a million different things will pop out. But what I'm really noticing right now is Pluto's in Aquarius. Okay, this is a really big shift. This is by transit. So this is for everyone. Pluto has not been in Aquarius for, I think it's close to 250 years. It was when the Declaration of Independence was signed, was the last time Pluto was in Aquarius. So you can get the feel of the energy. And astrology works in cycles. So not a loop, but a cycle. So evolutionary cycle spiraling up. So the way I am really looking at people's charts right now is like, where is Pluto? Where is this activation of Aquarius, which is liberation, freedom, evolution, power to the people, personal power, like back within, not outside, right? Like not religions and governments and schools and the medical system. It's like really the power within, the self-generated power. Like I was saying, like we are the universe. Everybody is. So for Putin, it's very fascinating because by transit, it's in the third house, which is communication. It's the house of the Gemini, the twins, good twin, bad twin kind of energy, right? So, like how he can be projected on and has been a lot, as we'll say the bad twin in astrology, but like this revolutionary coming energy coming through, that's like, well, there's a whole nother side. And what's even more interesting about his third house is he has Chiron there. Do you know about Chiron?
Please say more.
Chiron is the asteroid about the wounded healer. So it shows where like our deep wound is and kind of it's like what we can actually help heal in others, but it's sort of this nagging wound in ourselves. So he has that in the house of communication. And it was in the sign of Capricorn. We just moved through since 2008 Pluto in Capricorn. So that swept over his wound, right? Like a big wound he came to heal, not just for himself, but for the collective. So that's very fascinating. And then not only is Chiron there, which is the wound, you wanted to know about the North Node. North Node is in the third house. North Node is destiny energy, where you want to focus to really make a big shift. So not only is he healing the wound in communication, the way he's perceived in communication, it's everything to do with like written things too, like what's in the news, what's on the TV. That's the third house. Everything to do with communication.
Well, yeah, that's fascinating because actually, I mean, he's such a paradox. He's been demonized as a monster. He's been called a mafia thug. Um, in fact, in the West, I mean, honestly, going back to the last 60, 70 years, it was first the threat of communism under the Soviets. And then when Putin took power in 1991 or something like that, this kind of demonization then was projected onto him. And it's been almost consistently that way until now with this kind of breakthrough and the fact that we really almost can't continue to see him in that light. Otherwise, we're heading into some kind of destruction. So you're talking about a paradox, right? And it's a
So,
paradox not only about Putin, but sort of the paradox that we feel about ourselves or
yeah.
about, yeah,
Mhm. Totally. And that shift from the Capricorn energy, because Pluto is the energy, the planet rules like death, rebirth, transformation. So it's going to burn things to the ground so that the phoenix can rise again. So Pluto having gone over the wound, the Chiron, the wound in the communication, in the written word, in yeah, again, that Gemini energy, that flip-flop energy, like it's the mirror, that's the tricky mirror. You can't really see who you're looking at or what, right? So there can be a lot of projection. But now Pluto being in Aquarius, it is not on top of his North Node yet, but it's going to be moving over the North Node. But you can already feel that energy, right? Like he did that interview with Tucker Carlson, and it was like mind blowing to just be like, whoa, you're actually hearing him speak and you can make your own decisions. It's not like a projected version of him being forced down your throat, right? Like you can decide how you feel about it, how you feel about it in your body, how you process it, thinking and questioning more like, what have we been told all this time? Because we see these kind of narratives breaking down in all areas of the world, right? In structures, old government structures and education, like I was saying, the medical system, we just went through all that, right? Bunch of reveal. So it really is incredible that his North Node, which again is like the destiny energy, and to have it in Aquarius, which is like freedom, power of expression, power to the people, internal power. He's out there speaking on that. So it's amazing to see astrology reflected so accurately in this particular case, of course, but it's pretty powerful.
yes. What astounded me was, and I mean, why should I be so surprised? I mean, here's a man that's led his country from chaos in 1991 when he took over leadership from Yeltsin, I believe, and then built the country up into, like the most powerful economy in Europe right now, some people say. And I don't know why it's so shattering. And Tucker Carlson's interview, which has now, I think, gotten, say, maybe more than 1 million views. I don't know why it's so astounding, but yet it still is, to see his high degree of intelligence and his subtle form of humor, which
Mhm.
almost seems to be lacking in Western leaders and our technocrats of today.
Yes, I agree. And the true love of his country, right? And his people. So to have that um true heartwarming vibe come through, I thought was like incredible too. You know, I mean, there's a lot of history. This world has a lot of history. There's been, isn't it Nietzsche? Nietzsche? How would I say that correctly? That
Yeah, I
Nietzsche?
believe. Yeah.
Nietzsche.
Yeah.
There's that wonderful quote I love from him that you must have chaos within oneself to give birth to a dancing star. And I think that it like gives me chills when I say that because it's like so the times we're in globally, right? Geopolitically, and then within ourselves too, because I didn't know this and I just learned it yesterday. You probably know this, but I love it so much. Do you know what happens to a star when it goes through a black hole?
I have no idea.
Gosh, it's so fabulous to just have this visual. It's like eaten basically by the black star. It's like the star has to surrender into this void, right? But on the other side, it's not just one universe, but millions of universes birthed from that one star, like imploding through the black hole, which I just think is so powerful. And I just feel like we're in that time where it's like it feels unknown, but yet it's also so exciting because we are birthing new universes, all of us right now.
Yes.
Mm.
And it's interesting. This is maybe another subject for another time, but in a funny way, that's an ancient wisdom too that
Mhm.
came as far back as the Jewish mystics. And I mean, so what you're talking about is a new way of talking about it, an astrological way, maybe. But it's interesting because it's also kind of brings in an ancient wisdom that maybe perhaps people always knew, but it's for us to keep revitalizing it and
Yes, exactly.
seeing time in a new way and letting time open up in a different way.
Yes, exactly. Because for as long as I can remember, the fear of like the end of time was always a subject being pushed. So I grew up in a very religious thing where it was like, there is going to be the end of time, there's going to be the Armageddon. Remember Y2K? It was like, there's always these like points where it's like, right as we're really evolving, there's this push that it's going to be like over, or we're going to go into another huge world war, or it's going to be a catastrophe. But really, it's more of that energy of like going through the black hole and birthing and renewing. So I've come to see it that way, more like, ooh, this is exciting. We're being told that all these things, and there are things happening. I'm not denying that at all. I mean, there's a lot going on in the world right now, but also it's exciting because we are evolving. And just like this knowing within, like it is about evolution. So we're not devolving. Even if something is chaos and messy, it's like it is part of evolution. I do believe that's why we're here. And so that makes me excited to be like, okay, let's plant new seeds, right?
And allowing ourselves to feel the chaos, and allowing ourselves to not have to hold to some positivist idea of ourselves all the time.
Oh, right. Yes. Collapse in and on in ourselves, basically. Like keep collapsing, keep rebirthing. It's exciting to me. Like for myself, I feel like I'm getting rid of like old belief systems that maybe felt more programmed, like so much quicker these days. And I see it around me too. It's just like things are just peeling away for people. Like it's not so hard, right? Because the Pluto in Capricorn, it's structure. It wants the structure, it wants the form. It wants kind of that copy paste. Here's the formula. Here's the savings account. Here's the retirement account. We have it all figured out till the end. Whereas like Aquarius is like, let's see what happens. Something can happen that we don't even know about yet. That's even better than we could have ever imagined, is really more that energy. So to tap into that.
Yeah, right. Even better than we ever imagined, because for some reason, I mean, it's kind of even looking at coming out of World War II and the creation of the CIA, and the idea that that the West had to have all this protection from this, this impending doom that might happen to it, and that this has prevailed for such a long time, and that things could actually be so much different. And just kind of rolling up into the last question I'd like to pose to you is, and I think I already know the answer, but do you see that there's the chance for the consciousness to flower, that Putin is not only a great leader of his country, which is the largest country on the planet, but that he could be seen as a hope, a humanitarian hope for multipolarized world leaders, so that there might not just be the hegemony of the United States, but that there could be different forces in the world, and we could all go together, in mutual respect, with boundaries and respective differences and so on. I mean, is there this kind of hope that Putin could actually be a leader that we could respect and trust?
Yes, I do think that's already the case, honestly. It's probably not talked about as much, right? But it's definitely he works well with other leaders that it's not, front page news for the United States as of yet. But I do believe that the Pluto in Aquarius, it's the age of Aquarius. It's sort of like this long prophesied time in many different cultures, right? It's like that we are evolved, that we can see and respect the differences in everybody, and that it's celebrated, right? And we don't have to keep putting anything outside of ourselves, whether that's a savior or an enemy, because that's really an age of Pisces kind of thing where we had to have the victim, the martyr, and the savior. And we've been in that cycle for a really long time. And our evolution is to really spin out of that, right? And to not even have that within ourselves, right? Because we can do that to ourselves. Victim, martyr, savior within ourselves. And that kind of it's looping is really what it is, right? Instead of like casting forth new codes and then creating new experiences. So I really see us sort of like out of the loop, out of the cul-de-sac, and that we really do remember that we are powerful creators, and that we do want to create like a beautiful world for ourselves and the next generation. So I totally feel that.
Yes.
Mhm.
Well, I really appreciate your vision for, what you're kind of calling a more individual power and a unique genius,
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
rather than needing somebody to conform to, or the fear of being out of step with the others or what we're being given. Um, it's
Absolutely. Yes. And I do also, I think this is a powerful little code. It's become clear to me, so I can speak for myself, that I am perfectly designed for the obstacle course I chose in my life for evolution, not just for myself, but for those around me, for my family, for my lineage, and just sort of like being like, whoa, even the hard stuff, even the stuff that was traumatic, it really was something I chose that I'm perfectly designed to do for evolution. And then knowing that everyone is perfectly designed for their obstacle course because we all have them, you know? And so that brings me so much joy and hope and like excitement because I'm like, yes, we all can do it. We're not victims, you know what I mean? And we don't have to have a bad guy all the time, right? And we don't need someone to save us. We really came here to it's much more than a game, but we're playing the game that we designed for ourselves and we can do it like with grace and with genius like you said. And we're moving from human as tool, right? Or being played with, kind of puppeteered into human as art, so that we're the art and everything that comes through us is our art, right? Like it could be a piece of art, it can be music, it could be what you're doing with your YouTube videos and your writings. It can also just be elevated relationships, which I think is so exciting. So interpersonally and globally, all that kind of stuff, like magic in the relationships, right? So I really feel all that.
yes, yes, yes. And funny that you would mention that because apparently Putin's favorite writer is Dostoevsky from the 19th century. And I first learned about Russia. I first became enthralled with Russia reading the literature. And one of the things that Dostoevsky said was, beauty will save the world.
Oh yeah, I got the
Oh,
chills on that. I call them the truth bumps, and I and I totally agree. I totally agree. And like finding the beauty within ourselves again, right? Because I think we've spent way long enough in this evolutionary cycle of critiquing ourselves, being overly, um, yeah, condemning ourselves in every which way, right? Like this isn't good enough to put out there. This isn't good enough. I'm not good enough. It's like, yes, you are. You're perfectly designed, and like just keep evolving, you know? Freya said something beautiful the other day. Her theory, she calls it her theory of how the world was created, is that the queen of everything had a big white canvas and she just painted and started painting. And we got painted on there, but we get to keep painting and painting and painting. So it's really cool because the the kids these days, they get it, right? They get that they're supposed to be so expressive and just like life is art and they are art. And so I love that. So I really see it in my girls, the hope of the future, because that's
yes,
them. Yeah.
yes, yes, right. Well, I so appreciate your insights.
Thank you.
And
That was fun.
no, it's just
I'm not usually well actually sometimes I comment on like world political things, but what's so cool about it is it's becoming less what would be the word? You used to not be able to talk about religion or politics or anything. It was rude, right? But now
yes,
it's let's dive into it. Let's weave a story. Let's find some truth. Let's explore this. And so I love that because that's evolution as well, you know?
yes. And also, kind of just tying in the idea of Putin being such an enigma, such a paradox, and that we can somehow live in paradox with
Yeah.
ourselves
Mhm.
and with life itself, because life is a paradox also.
Exactly. So it's beautiful. So it's so exciting. And it is exciting to see these changes because it's like reflected inside of us too, which is just great. Right. And so I just feel like we're here at a really amazing time. I mean, I can only imagine like how many changes you've seen, like you were saying, since World War II to now. It's pretty incredible. Like, and just to have that gratitude to like be able to be here witnessing all that, you know, I
Yes,
think it's like incredible because it's powerful times.
yes,
Prophesied times. We're living in it, so it's cool.
yes. And prophecy, I think, means a veil being removed, a veil
Yeah.
being removed. Yeah.
Exactly. I agree.
Well, Willow, thank you so, so much. I'm so grateful that
Thank
we
you.
had a chance to chat. And are you offering a service? Can people reach you?
Yeah, I'm doing occasional readings. I'm quite busy with. I'm diving into some new studies and stuff too, which will be fun. I'll share more with you later. But lots of stuff with the girls right now. I'm pretty busy. But if people wanted to have an astrology reading, they can go to my website, which is willowrockwell.com, and I have a contact page. So I'm happy to schedule that. And I also am on Instagram, so I post like artistic stuff and poetry. I try to like code my art, which I think is important. Because you can put a power pack in there, you know what I mean? With a few words or a cool picture or something that inspires you, like you said, something that's beautiful, but it can like bloom in other people too, when that's the intention.
Yes, I love your codes, and I thank you so much. I'm so appreciative of our chat, and thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. I always love connecting with you.
Thanks. We'll do it again.
Hey, have an awesome day.
All right, you too. Bye-bye.